Hi everyone, welcome back. So now that we have seen most of the important functions that are offered by FYERS, I'm going to show you how we can actually do a backtest. So this is going to be the more practical session where I will actually show you how we can backtest a strategy, and the strategy that I'm going to backtest is the RSI strategy. So let me first talk about the strategy itself, and then we'll see the coding part. So we have the basic RSI strategy. So what I've done here is, let's say I'm doing it on a 30 minutes time frame, and let us say I'm using SBI. So this is the SBI stock. I have added the RSI here. And what I want to do is, whenever the RSI, let's say, goes above the 30 line, so this is where it goes above the 30 line, I want to take a buying entry. And then I will be holding this trade for a little while, and the exit will come either my stop loss is getting hit, or my, let's say, a target level is getting hit, or if this goes up and goes above the 70 level. So even then I will take the exit. So essentially I will have three exits: the stop loss, the target, or the RSI going above the 70 level. And for this example, since it's a positional strategy, I will only be looking for buying opportunities. I will not be looking for the shorting selling opportunities. So let us see how we can backtest this strategy. So let us start. So here again, I'm adding my client ID. I have already done the login, so I'm getting my access token, creating my backtest instance here, and then this is where I'm calling the get stock history, which is essentially going to give me the historical data. And I'm inputting SBIN, let's say 30 minutes time frame, and the time or the date I want is from 1st January to 11th of February, which is today. And as we have seen this earlier, essentially what it is going to do is it is going to give us the results, the historical data, in 30 minutes time frame, and that is getting stored in this historical data, and I'm saving it in data. So if I run the code till here, you will see that I'm getting my results in data, which will have the OHLC for SBI on a 30 minutes time frame. Once I've done that, so let me run it till here, and then we'll go forward. So if I come here, you can clearly see that this is all the data that I've got, and this is the date time value, and I have the open, high, low, and close. So that is getting stored in this data variable. And then once I've got my data, then I'm going to perform the backtest on this data itself. So I'm calling this another function called perform backtest, and in this I'm passing this data. I'm passing the RSI period, let's say 14, and we can keep our stop loss and target based on percentage basis. So let's say 1% and 2%. So those are my inputs. So let us go through what is this perform backtest function. So here, firstly, what I'm doing is I am converting that data that we have got. If you remember the data in the first part, right, the first column, the first column actually is date time, but it is in epoch format. So this is the epoch format, the first column. So that is not very readable format. So I'm going to convert that into a more readable format. So this is the way to do that. This is a little advanced coding. I'm using streams. So this is using streams. So I'm not using much of loops here. Without the use of loops, I'm converting this epoch into a normal date time format, like a YYYYMMDD format, and I've printed it out also. So if I show you the results, so you can see here that now the same data or the same column 1 has been converted into a more readable format, and you can clearly see this is 9:15, 9:45, 10:15, 10:45. So it's in the time frame of 30 minutes that we have got, and that has been stored in this date time IST list. So that's the first part. And similarly, I've created two more arrays. The first array is the closing prices. So I've just extracted all the closing prices, which is the last column. As you can see here, this is row 4. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is the 5th column. And then what I'm doing is I'm passing this closing prices and the RSI period, which was 14, to this calculate RSI. Now, what is calculate RSI? Basically, we are trying to get the value of the RSI for all our historical data. So this is the calculate RSI function. Now, how do I find it? I'm actually using ChatGPT for this. So let me show you what was a prompt. All I've given here is, please give me a Java Python code for calculating the RSI. and I've told them that what will be my input. So I will input the double prices and end period. So those are my inputs, and based on that you can clearly see it has given us the code. Obviously the code might differ a little bit every time you run it, but most of the times the code will be more or less similar. So this is the code that I've got, and I am returning this RSI value. So we are getting the RSI value. As you can see here, this is what the RSI value is getting returned here also. So once we have got that, so if we come back to the code, so till this line, till line number 83, we have got our date time in a correct format. We have our closing prices and we have the RSI values also. Then we are going to start with the logic for doing the backtest. So in this, I am creating 3 variables. In position means whether I am in a trade or not. Entry price obviously means what is my entry price, and the total PNL, I'm just going to keep adding my total PNL for each trade. For each row, so I'm going to run the code for each row, and I'm going to check at what time I am getting the entry. At what time I'm getting the entry. So as we can see here, it is checking. So this is where it is checking. If I don't have a position and the current RSI is above 30 and the previous RSI is below 30, that means there's a crossover. And if there's a crossover, that means if it's a bullish crossover, I am going for my entry. I am updating the value of my entry price to the closing prices, which I'm getting here. So I've got my all the closing high and lows using that data that we had got from the history function. I'm calculating my stop loss and target using the stop loss percent and the target percent, which we had already added as a parameter here. And then I'm also printing it out that this is my entry time and what is the stop loss and what is the target. And then I'm looking for my exits. So if in position, that means if I am already in the position, I will have 3 kinds of exits. The first exit will be if the low price is below the stop loss. That means my stop loss is hit. So I will exit the trade, and this will be my PNL. And I will update obviously the in position to false because I am not in a position anymore. LF, if the high price is above the target price, that means my target is hit. And again, I will exit the trade and I will update the value of my PNL. And again, I will make in position is false. And finally, if RSI is more than 70, that means it has crossed 70. I don't really need to put this. I can even ignore this part. So yeah, once it goes above 70, then also I will be exiting the trade. And again, I have put my updated PNL and again, my in position is false. And this will keep running for the entire data. And finally, I'm going to print out my total PNL. So let's run the entire code now and let us see what is the result. So you can see here that this is where it has started to take the entry. So this is the entry time at 2nd of January at 9:45. It has given us the buying price. It has given us the stop loss and the target, and so on and so forth. So in the first trade, my target got hit. In the second trade, my stop loss got hit, and you can see a lot of stop losses are getting hit. That's because the market has been in a downtrend recently. In fact, let's see what is the latest trade. And the latest trade came on the, let's see the entry time. The entry time is 7th of January at 2:45. So let's check it out, whether we got a trade. In fact, this is the same trade that we had mentioned here. As you can see here, this is the candle at which I get my entry because the RSI has gone above. The RSI has gone above. So I'm taking the entry here. And once I've got the entry, I took a buying entry, but the market reversed, and that is why my stop loss got hit. And that is exactly what is being shown here. My stop loss is getting hit and I'm closing the position. So by doing this strategy for last 1 month of data, we are making minus 51 points. Now, if we want to change it, and let's say if we want to test it for some other parameter, we can even do that. So we can change it to, let's say 0.2 and maybe 0.3 just to check. So 2% stop loss and 3% target. Let's run it again. And we can get a revised result, whether the strategy is making profit or loss. It looks like it's going to make a loss, but yeah, you can see now it's minus 31 points. So we can keep playing with our different data points, and based on that, we can see how the backtests are performing. So like I said, this was a more practical video to see how actually we can do coding to backtest different strategies. So again, thank you for joining, and I hope you're liking the videos. See you soon.